perennial, you do something you shouldn't do during the loan process, like buy a car,
yeah.
or buy
Yeah.
furniture, and
Get a new credit
increase your credit
card.
line. Because some people think,
Right.
oh, once I got the pre-approval, I can do whatever I want. I can furnish the house, and not.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. All right, welcome to The Closing Table. My name is Kevin C. McIntosh, your host. And of course, I have a very knowledgeable guest in the real estate industry. We want to welcome Sonni Harvin to the show. How you doing, Sonni?
I'm well.
Yeah. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Per usual, we like to acknowledge that because I know you could be out there closing deals and getting people in their homes. But we're here to talk about some business. So let's start things off, though. Quick icebreaker for you. Little cool game, little casual game. It's called Fill in the Blank. Got a couple sentences all related to real estate, but they are incomplete. I need you to fill in the blank with whatever context makes sense. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, starting it off. I don't know why people think real estate is blank.
Easy. I don't know why
Okay.
they think it's easy.
Okay. In 10 years, the real estate industry will be blank.
Similar to today, with the inventory shortage.
Interesting. Okay. The key to longevity as a realtor is blank.
Relationships, and treating people like you want to be treated.
I'd agree with that. Lastly, blank makes a neighborhood more valuable.
School systems.
I like that one. I like that. Good, sharp. Appreciate those responses. Playing a little childish game with me, Sonni. Appreciate that. So right now, I want you to tell us about yourself as a person. In 60 seconds or less, can you tell us who is Sonni outside of real estate?
Outside of real estate, I am a person who likes to travel, to get away. It's hard for me to turn off unless I'm in a different environment. I'm a person that truly believes in kindness as just like a living, something to live by. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It's gotten me so many places that, just trying to be competitive and dominant, like that, salespeople have that kind of personality. Mine is a little bit different, and just, grateful. I've had so many good things happen to me in real estate and outside. Just grateful.
Nice. There it is. All right. So right now, can you paint the picture for me and our audience to your current market that you are serving? Can you tell us what it is and then give us a little details of it economically?
Okay. So I work a lot on referrals at this point in my career, going into 8 years. So I'm having people that have worked with me in the past send me other people. I'm having some people that worked with me at the beginning of my career coming back to sell again or purchase again. So I end up working all over. And so I would say the overarching theme of the market right now is competitive. It's we had a little lull from I'd say November through February, but at the end of March, things just blew back up. And, now we're back with competitive offers, over asking price, appraisal guarantee, all that is back in place. And I think that's because, the only thing that really, I think, deterred people was interest rates. And I think now people have accepted that they're probably not going to go down, and understand that they're probably never in their lifetime going to go back down to 2%. And they're just moving forward with their purchase.
Right. Okay. Couple follow-up questions. Well, for one, the area geographically, just for we're clear, where are you serving your market?
Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, for the most part.
Cool.
I mean, I've done a few in like Washtenaw or Genesee, but
Okay.
Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb.
Okay, okay. And for our internet audience, just to let you know, this is the Michigan, state of Michigan that we're talking about. Secondly, my second question to that. So you kind of felt from your perspective like maybe the market was starting to balance out a little bit or correct a little bit until March, and you said you feel like the consumers ultimately just accepted the interest rates. Do you feel like the weather had anything to do with that? Was that a factor?
Um, it's always somewhat of a factor in Michigan, right? But
Right, right.
um, there was a year before last, I think I did more business in the winter than I did in the summer. So
Mm. Wow.
a lot of people, because it was so competitive, they may have started in the summer and their search, continued into the fall and winter just
That's a
because of
good
the
point.
competitiveness of the market. And they hung in hoping that people would back off because of the weather.
That's a good point. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know that. That's a different perspective on that Wayne County, Oakland County area that I haven't necessarily heard yet.
But
I think we also talked about the fact that you either held or you currently hold your MLO license, right? Mortgage loan origination. Do you currently still hold it? You said you do?
yes, yes,
Got you.
I
Okay.
currently hold it.
Nice, nice. So both ends of the process or two different perspectives of the process you're getting a look at, or you can, or you at least understand, I should say.
Okay.
Can you just talk about how you leverage your knowledge of, being a loan originator with your profession as a real estate agent to benefit your client?
Well, a couple ways. I really had interest in it, so I could understand, at least at a high level, the process
Mm-hmm.
on both sides. It helps give me some credibility to tell them how important it is to get pre-approved, the pitfalls that can happen if you start to look before you're pre-approved.
Right.
I also understand the things that go into a pre-approval, like debt to income ratio, time,
Mm-hmm.
time on a job. So I can give them, a somewhat of a sneak peek of what is going to happen when they go to get pre-approved. And then
Gotcha.
the other way I really help them is even though I can give them a high level, I definitely create relationships with lenders that have all different types of products because people come in all different type of situations, right? Like some people
Mm-hmm.
are right out of bankruptcy and, obviously they're going to pay a higher interest rate. But I always tell them if you're renting, you're paying 100% interest. So you probably
Mm.
want to, talk about getting pre-approved if there's a program that can help you.
I get it. I get it. And it's funny because before we even started the show, we talked about how we both have similarities in that lane because we both got our MLO license through. I don't even want to say the company name, but
Yeah.
we
But
we
we
got our
know.
license through a company, right? In Detroit or whatever the case. And yeah, I mean that got us the knowledge of the mortgage process, the different programs and products that, are available out there. So I definitely think, having that just having it,
Yeah,
that
it
extra
definitely gives
education
you
and
an added
knowledge.
perspective,
For sure.
of
For
what's going
sure.
on in the market.
That way you don't have to completely just lean on your professionals or just, send your clients there. You can kind of go back and forth with your clients also and,
Mhm.
talk about what their options are and, what you feel like can possibly work best for them too.
Right.
So
Right.
cool. So they're saying many consumers and potential buyers are concerned with interest rates fluctuating, but they may not know they have options like rate locks.
Right.
Now, having your license as a loan originator, you know a little bit about that. Can you talk about what a rate lock is, the rate lock period, and
Right.
how it
So,
benefits?
typically it's a 30-day period where, if, say, for example, if the rates have dipped a little bit, that's always a good time to jump in because you can jump in on that good rate while you still look for homes,
Mm,
for 30 to 60 days, just depending on how long you're able to lock it. Um, and that can be a tool to make you feel like you're more stable in what your payment would be if you know for sure what your rate is going to be.
gotcha. Hmm. Now that just got me thinking about something else because I hear of, and tell me if you can help me out with this. I hear of interest rates, but I also hear and see of something else called APR.
Yes.
What's the difference? What are those?
Most simplest The simplest way to explain that is it's the cost of borrowing the money. It's
Mm,
just kind of like a credit card APR where it takes into consideration the entire cost of
right.
of having the money loaned to you. So that can actually be more important than the interest rate. And
Mm,
so you want to definitely get your loan officer to explain, to tell you what your APR is and to explain to you what exactly that means.
right. And APR stands for annual percentage rate, correct?
Yes.
Am I saying that right? All
Yeah.
right, just for clarification, just want to be sure. Thank you, because I honestly did not know all that. That's one of them things that I learned as an MLO that I definitely forgot since I haven't
So
been active with
much.
it.
Yeah, like,
It's
I take
fleeting.
my hat
So,
off to realtors that do both because both
hmm.
sides of the industry change constantly.
Oh
So to
yeah.
be able to stay on top of both, um, yeah, that's an achievement if you can do both.
So I'm glad you brought that up because now that has me thinking about this. When I have my guests on the show, I do research. I do
Uh-huh,
research on them. I do research on their market. I do research on real estate industry in general.
uh-huh.
So I have a few sources that I go to. But how do you stay up to date on the different news and trends that's going on in real estate in general and in your market?
One of the things I pay attention to in general is Inman, the Inman News.
Okay.
They have a online, like every day they come out with news nationwide of what's happening in the realtor associations, what's happening in the mortgage world that affects realtors. They break a lot of new things coming in
Hmm.
about real estate. So I definitely read that every day. I also consult Keeping Current Matters, which is another like web-based publication, and they are more their news is more statistical in nature
Mm.
versus
Okay.
situational like Inman. Um, and they have, you know, the statistics nationwide that you can go to. As far as locally, NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and MAR, the Michigan
Hmm.
Association of Realtors, come out, with current both statistics, trends,
Right.
changes, challenges to the market, and so I kind of look at those every day. They're in my
Right.
inbox, so I make sure I review, if there's anything major coming up.
Yeah, the National Association of Realtors, definitely one of my main sources for
Uh-huh.
sure, for sure. But Inman and the other one, you said current. What would you say the other one was?
Keeping Current Matters.
Keeping Current Matters.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I haven't heard
KCM.
of those.
Um,
Okay,
and another person, honestly, is Tom Ferry. He, I can say that he helped me, and he has a partnership with Keeping Current Matters. And they have
okay,
a weekly podcast. They have a YouTube page that can give you, and he's kind of kept me ahead of the curve, especially with my marketing, but also the state of the market, and from the investor perspective, because I help investors and I am an investor. Bigger Pockets is another.
ah, of course, bigger pockets,
Yeah,
of course, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah,
like,
that's one of the holy grails too. I
yeah,
get that.
right.
All right, so just another question in regards to this mortgage process and thing. Like, not all mortgages are going to get the pre-approval that they're looking for. So, what is a common reason that applications get denied?
Um, Debt to income, huge. I've gotten
Mm,
denied for that because I have multiple properties that show up on my credit report.
okay.
Um, Debt to income, getting employment verification. So if you work somewhere for too short a time, or there's nobody that can verify your employment, you don't have tax returns to support your employment and income. So those are like really the major things that get you denied up front. And then there's always the perennial, you do something you shouldn't do during the loan process, like buy a
Oh
car
yeah.
or buy
Yep.
furniture, and
Get a new credit
increase your credit
card.
line. Because some people think,
Right.
oh, once I got the pre-approval, I can do whatever I want. I can furnish the house, and yeah, not so.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Okay. Okay. I got another statistic. I believe this may have came from NAR, National Association of Realtors. 71% of buyers are also simultaneously sellers,
Mhm.
which makes sense. If you're buying if you're buying a home, you're probably selling the home that you may have owned before, especially if you're not a first-time home buyer. But what method do you use to make sure that your buying client can also sell their home in time to have funds for the new purchase?
Well, one of the main things I can say I employ is occupancy, free occupancy, or rent back, which is if you sell the house after you close, um, if it's free occupancy, you can stay in the house for 30, 60 days.
Right.
Rent free, or if there's a rent back situation, you pay part of the buyer's mortgage while you still stay in the house. That's a huge tool because, it gives you kind of some time to situate, find out where you're going to go, potentially
Mm,
look for a new house. So that's one tool. The other is actually where my license is now, Iron Mortgage, and some other mortgage shops. They have a equity, like an equity loan that you can use. It's like a bridge loan or an equity loan where you can take the equity out of your current home to help put a down payment or closing costs on your new home. So those are the two that I probably employ the most.
okay. Okay. Oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah. I mean, I've heard of I don't think I've heard of what did you say, rental buyback or something like
Or
that?
rent back. So
Rent
it's
back.
where I had a lot of actual buyers give that their sellers 30 days free occupancy, which is almost a no-brainer in a competitive offer situation if the house
Okay,
is
I get it.
occupied because you
Right.
don't pay the mortgage that first 30 days anyway. So it's kind of like you know, a freebie.
Okay.
It might mean a lot to the seller, but for the buyer, it's not, a big blow to their finances. And then that second month, they'll do the rent back, which every day that they stay in after that first month, they pay 1/30th of the buyer's mortgage. So
Per diem,
per
but
diem.
okay,
Yeah.
based on got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing.
That's
Rent back per
interesting.
diem.
Uh you just made me think of something in that regard. Maybe I have to think about that a little bit more and get back to it. But that just made me think of something. We'll get back to it. I want to talk about a home's value
Uh-huh.
because from what I'm seeing, it's ultimately determined by the prospective buyers and what they're willing to pay. But
Yes.
there are also several factors that impacts the value. So what are the critical factors that impacts the value of the home?
Well, I just had this conversation actually with a buyer yesterday because he often, if he's interested in a house, he wants me to run the comparable sales, which obviously is a list of the homes that have sold within about a 1 mile radius that have similar attributes, same number of
Right.
bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. Um, and from a appraisal perspective, that's really important in determining the value, right? Like how that house compares to other nearby homes that have already sold. But what
Right.
I pointed out to him yesterday is that in a market like this, the comps only have a limited effect because people are willing to pay, regardless of the comps, what the house is worth to them.
True.
So,
True.
it only gives you like sort of a ballpark of what it might appraise for. But in a
Mm-hmm.
world of appraisal value, appraisal guarantees, where people agree to pay a certain price regardless of what it appraises for, comps become less important. So, at the end of
Mm.
the day, it in this market, it tends to be what people think the house is worth. A lot of those factors have to do with, I think I mentioned before, school system,
Schools. I was just gonna bring that up. Right.
what the millage is for the taxes in the place. Um,
Mm.
as far as physically, it's usually kitchens and bathrooms. People love nice kitchens and bathrooms. They perceive that as, hey, I can move right in. I don't have to do anything right away because there's kind of two buyers in that respect, right? So there's a buyer who's like, I don't want to do anything. I want to walk in and it be perfect, the
Yep, yep.
HGTV house, as I like to say. And then there are some people who have vision and are like, I'd rather pay less up front and put more money into it over time. So
Right, right.
I tell people it's like a triangle. It's condition, price, and location. Those are the three main things that determine the value of a house. And just like a triangle, you can't be in all three corners equally at the same. I mean, all three corners equally at the same time. You're going to be
Mm,
somewhere in the middle. You're going to get a nice location,
good point.
nice condition. Then the price is going to be high,
Right,
or
right.
you'll get a lower price, but the condition might be sketchy. So
Uh-huh.
those are basically the determining factors.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely makes sense. Yeah, you definitely brought in a good point with, I mean, the appraisal guarantees and the way the market is now. That changes the whole value in you know what I'm saying, value
Yeah.
to price perspective. And then it's a whole nother subject, but going down the line, how will they feel about that purchase 5 years from now, 10
Right.
years from now? Will that appreciation make up for that? What, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. And those are the
like it's,
conversations we have. How long do
yeah, I
you plan
bet.
on staying here? If
Mm-hmm.
if you plan on staying here less than 5 years, you might want to think twice about that appraisal
Right,
guarantee
right, right.
because you are and that's why I don't force those on people. I'll tell them that's what it's going to take to get this house, but that's your decision because you
Right.
are willingly going into a negative equity situation because you're
Mm,
literally agreeing to
that's
pay
crazy.
more for the house than what the bank thinks it's worth. So you
Oh
have to
my
keep that in mind.
goodness. What a time to be alive. You
Right?
know, I did think of that question that had came up.
Uh-huh.
You've mentioned, and I've heard this before, but I didn't ask. 30 days until you have to pay your mortgage once you close and move in or whatever the case may be.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if you can answer this. So does that mean when you do get your first bill, you're gonna get 2 months? Like, why would they do that to somebody?
Right. Well, I don't know what the reason or the foundation behind that is, but you don't pay rent until the first day of the first full month after you close. So it's still the one bill.
Okay,
Honestly, I don't know if it goes to the end, but that's just, how it's
I
always
get
been.
it. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe my brain was just thinking of it a completely. Obviously, it was.
Yeah,
That's just
yeah,
I think
no.
weird.
And
So
honestly,
okay.
I don't know why it's like that, but it's always like that.
Okay, okay. So being a real estate professional, you get experiences that you are proud of by getting people into their first homes or even a dream home, right?
Uh-huh.
So can you share a memorable experience where you exceeded expectations and made a lasting impact on the buyer or the seller?
Well, I always, when people ask me that, I always kind of go back to my very first sale because it was so significant to me.
Hmm.
It really, and not just the check, because at the time I was working two jobs, but it it made me know that this is what I was supposed to do. That
I feel
it
that.
was my ministry, if you will, to help people
Hmm.
get into homes because I feel very strongly about home ownership and investing in yourself. I feel very strongly about it
Right.
being a tool for wealth building. So all of that kind of came together in my first sale, which was to a military family that was from the
Mm.
area, from Wayne County, but they were living in Italy at the time they contacted me, and he was
Oh.
being redeployed here. And we talked a couple times, and you know, the military was kind of paying for them to have phone calls, but to make it easier for us to communicate, and this was, like I said, almost 8 years ago, I had WhatsApp from
Mm.
another business that I had started with hair extensions. And so to communicate with the people in China, I had, without paying, I had WhatsApp. And
Right.
so when they were talking about, calling and the price of the calls, I said, well, why don't we use WhatsApp? Because then we won't have to pay for the calls. We can text and call. And they just thought that was like the most amazing thing that I would, apply technology in this situation so
Right.
that I can make things easier for them. They could send me pictures through WhatsApp. And I could send them pictures through WhatsApp. We could do live videos. And so that's kind of, it kind of just popped in my head to do that to help them. And they talked
Yeah.
about, how much they appreciated me going out of the way. And then when they got here, I showed them probably 10 or 11 houses in one day because I knew that they only had so much
Correct.
time.
Yeah.
Looking back, I don't know how I did that. That's
That's
like,
what
I
I'm
can't
thinking.
imagine
Like
doing that
that's like
now.
a house every couple of special, and it's not like you did it in the whole 24 hours. So man,
Right. Yeah. It
hats
was a
off to
lot.
you.
Yeah. I knew they had limited time, and where they were
Yeah.
looking is like 40 minutes from my house. So,
Uh,
yeah, but I was so happy to do it. And so that let me know that that was kind of what I was supposed to do.
nice, nice. That's it. And when I was doing my research on you, I saw that. So when you mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's a nice story right there. That's very
Yeah.
unique too.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a time I want you to look back on your journey in your real estate profession. What key lessons have you learned about yourself, the industry, or the importance of serving others?
What I've learned about myself is that what they say is true is if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Mm,
One of the things that I used to always lament is when I had other jobs was long commutes. Like I hate driving. And what I noticed is when I was driving for real estate, which obviously is more driving than a commute, I never thought about the drive. I was just thinking about getting there and did I think they would like this house and what things can I highlight about the house? What things do I need to bring to their attention? So
hmm
I learned that that is very much true. That if you do something you love, it's a whole different, like, it got to be when I had other jobs, Mondays, Sunday night was just, oh my God, like
I
tomorrow.
bet. Yeah. Oh, tell
Yeah.
me about it.
Whereas when you're self-employed and you're doing something you love, I started to think it's Sundays, okay, what am I going to do better this week? Like it's another fresh
Yeah,
start. And
that's real.
so I learned that about myself. And I learned how important it is to just be kind to people. They
Mm,
appreciate kind people in a world where there's so many people who are not kind. And
right.
patience. The only thing that has made me more patient than real estate is my kids. Uh, but yeah, it
That's a
makes you
fact.
patient because I, having done, 4 or 5 transactions before I got my license, I knew what difficult customers were like because I was a difficult customer. But I also know what my intentions were, what to get the
Right.
best deal, to be well informed. And so I think I have a unique perspective in that regard that I kind of picture myself as them when they're going through the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good perspective to think of because that definitely puts a lot of things into consideration. With
Mhm.
that being said, so with those lessons being known, how do you use those to shape your future goals going forward?
Um, Being in this business, I don't want to say wasted because I learned, but I spent a lot of money on all different type of marketing techniques to like try to reach people in my neighborhood or reach people in a certain neighborhood I wanted to focus on.
Hmm
But what I've got the most return on my investment was loving on my past clients. And so what I've learned is every time somebody approaches me with a new way to get business, I always think, okay, what could that amount of money buy me if I spent it on my past clients? So that they
Mm,
remember me, so that when somebody says real estate, I'm what they think of.
right.
So my goals for this year and next are to really be more present for my past clients. If they need something pro bono, like running comps so they can get a refi, um, just, calling just to say hi. I try to connect with a lot of them on Facebook when their kids graduate and, I like to comment. So really just loving who's loving me, not just always trying to get clients that I don't know.
Right, right. I love it. I love that. I love it. So much genuinity. Did I say that right? In that, I 100% get it. You know, you learn so many lessons from things you go through. I even like that you were conscious of the fact you said you didn't waste, you spent, and you know what I'm saying, that type of thing. So I 100% get it. You use that perspective to shape how you're going forward and just be a better person.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, I
thank
know
you
what
so
questions to
much.
ask when somebody tries to sell me something. You know what I mean? Like, whereas
Exactly.
before, like when stuff gets slow, you're like, okay, let me buy this, let me buy this. Yeah, you gotta know from past experience what works.
Correct.
Yeah,
And put yourself in the seat as a consumer too, like you said. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for pulling up a seat to the closing table, Sonni. We appreciate you for being here at this point. If you have any last words and or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, please
Okay.
do so now.
They can reach out to me by phone at 248-325-8781. My
Mm-hmm.
email address is Sonni, Sonni, at sunnyrealestate.com. And my webpage is also sunnyrealestate.com. So those are some ways you can reach me. And I'm on all social media as Sonni Real Estate. And so they can reach out to me there. I've actually gotten a lot of business from social media. And then my last words would just be, to
Mm-hmm.
realtors, just be nice to people. Just like, don't imagine yourself as a salesperson. Imagine yourself as a facilitator, as a teacher, as a support system for people. It's a stressful
Mm-hmm.
process, especially in this market. And you just need to keep that perspective when you're dealing with your clients. For buyers and sellers, all realtors are not created equal. You do want to get a referral from someone who was happy with the service. I think realtors get a bad rap. I have a personalized plate um, for a realtor, and I'm convinced people try to run me off the road because they know I'm a realtor. Just kidding. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
we're up there with used car salesmen and attorneys, right? But there are some of us out there who care and take your time and search for someone like that.
To compare realtors to lawyers and used car sales, that is
Seriously,
hilarious.
in popularity, there's surveys that
That's
say they
hilarious.
trust us
Well,
about as
thank
much
you.
as
Thank you, Sonni. I appreciate your energy, your presence, for being here. Thank you for exchanging that knowledge and dropping some gems right here on the closing table. For our YouTube audience, right now, if you got into this point in the video, now's your chance to hit that like button. We would definitely appreciate that. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and make sure you subscribe for our latest content. Sonni, y'all always leave a question for our audience to get them to think on the way out the door. Hey, would you prefer for your realtor to also be a loan originator, or would you want those two professions to be separate? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.